Well, the head of the United Nations mission in South Sudan has warned the international community to be realistic in its expectations of the long-delayed Regional Protection Force. 4,000 extra troops are due to be deployed to the troubled country, but the UN's David Shearer has pointed out that they'll likely be constrained by the conditions imposed by the South Sudanese government. CGTN's Harper reports from New York.
This was David Shearer's first briefing to the UN Security Council since he took up the post as the head of the UN's South Sudan mission roughly 3 months ago. He's spent that time touring the UN's 10 regional bases spread across the country. But he said that there's also been an intensification of the conflict during that period, and that there are now clear signs opposition groups and the government are planning upcoming offensives. The UN has approved sending a regional protection force of 4,000 extra troops to Juba. They agreed that last August, but since then the government has argued about the exact terms and mandate of those soldiers. Shearer did not give an exact date for their arrival, but said their eventual deployment would help to free up peacekeepers who could then help bolster the UN presence outside of Juba. But he cautioned the Council to remain realistic in its expectations, as the force would, he said, need to largely function under a similar rule of engagement, suggesting government interference may continue with those troops. The UK's ambassador to the UN, Matthew Rycroft, blamed the deployment delay on what he called unacceptable and chronic obstructions placed on the mission by the government. The mission head said the humanitarian situation in the country was now disastrous, with a third of South Sudan's population now either displaced or living as refugees in neighbouring countries. Shearer said that this was a man-made disaster and urged a political solution, saying the continued military offensives were intensifying ethnic divisions to a degree which will hinder reconciliation. On the arms embargo, Council members remained divided. The Security Council has considered an arms embargo on the country, but has so far been unable to agree whether it would actually help to reduce the violence. China said the Council's action must be cautious, while the African nations on the Council still seem wary. In December, all 3 African countries on the Council abstained from a vote to impose an embargo on South Sudan. While Shearer concluded that the political process was not yet dead, he did say it needs significant resuscitation, and to do that, the Council needed to speak with a unified voice to help ease the suffering in South Sudan. Harper, CGTN, New York.